Holler if you hear me, and welcome to this special edition of Art Uncensored. It is the top of the hour, 10 p.m. Eastern, and we are here and together to take a look at how we now have issue 4 of Encrypted up and ready. It was shipped this afternoon, and by that I mean it was shipped from our printers at Mixum to this little address, and now everybody that either pre-ordered or has a subscription got their copies shipped out, and they are due to arrive Wednesday at the earliest. It depends on the distance it's traveling, since it's all coming from USPS Ground Advantage. But yes, I was able to go and ship it out to a bigger, nicer post office than the one around the corner. So that probably means that they'll be more efficient at shipping things out and getting them the more proper treatment. But yes, issue 4 is here in the flesh, baby. So now that means that this puts me, yours truly, 1, 2, 3, and now 4 times ahead of other obese, worthless, clout-chasing, pedo-defending goblin men who pretend to go and produce comics and then never actually produce one and deliver them to anybody. And for a fraction of the money, I was able to go and now have 4 comic books out there for everybody to go and get. So that puts me definitely at a bit of a higher plane than some other people. And when it comes to people within the realm of those who actually are supposed to be comic book professionals, I would say now this puts me at least twice ahead on account of, well, everybody actually did get their orders for issue 2. So between having 2 that were supposedly delivered out there and now a third that still is yet to be finished and delivered to anybody, well, that now puts me 2 ahead of a certain somebody that couldn't get their shit together, to quote the great Darwin Cook. And when it comes to somebody who actually has a positive reputation, deserved all the accolades they could get, and I personally wish that their best-known work did not affiliate them with a Bolshevik bitch like Alan Moore, Stephen Bissett, with his legendarily unfinished comic series that was self-published, the one and only Tyrant. Yes, that dinosaur epic that wound up not getting done, that got stalled out at issue 4. Well, now I'm officially tied with Stephen Bissett's Tyrant when it comes to ongoing self-published comic book series. And of course, you'll notice that, well, one of these things is not like the other. One of these things just doesn't belong when it comes to the cover coloring that we've been doing. And last night you saw the coloring we did on the cover to issue 5 that will be available for pre-order come this Friday. And also Saturday is when there will be the August Warren Elks Comic Book and Toy Show. I will be there, and yes, there are plenty of people there that will be excited to see issue 4 up and ready, and it will be out there for them to go and get their copy, make it a big fun time. And I gave it up to a vote for anybody whether or not I should go and color in the margins around the main image of issue 5, issue 5's cover. And even my sister agreed that we should leave this blank, that this is fine the way it is. Although it's just the thing that's like little scratch in the back of my head is the fact that this issue 4 right here with a fully colored cover is such a step up visually from the previous issues that had so much, with the exception of this one because of its abstract void type of location, this one being such a simple composition where it's just a figure in the white void, similar to one of the latter Frank Miller Daredevil issues, makes sense. But then these other 2, I kind of felt like this was, I definitely had a lot of growth to do, a lot of room to improve with these covers. But now this one, having it be a full color, fully colored cover like this, it just feels like it would be a step back for me personally. I think it's like visually a step back to leave any kind of like blank white area on the cover, with the exception of the area in the center behind her right here, because it's supposed to be the Union Jack. So yes, there are those blank white areas of the negative space on the Union Jack, but the restaurant here, but But then again, I'll leave this up open for debate. I'll make this a community post first, and then a regular post for everyone else to see of whether or not I should be going out there and blend, if there should be color around the border here. And well, if we get to see Riot Kitty tonight, that'll also be great to see her around to see what she thinks of all this. And she's been getting back into doing more streams for either game streams and also for her own comic. She's been doing Dollhouse XC. And well, I hope she enjoyed issues 1 and 2 of Encrypted. And now we've got 4 full issues out there for anybody to go and get. And then from there, we'll be moving on to issue 5 and getting all those pre-orders in and continued promotion of Encrypted while I've been still working on the stories for issues 8 through 11 before we get to drawing 8 through 11 from September up until before the new year is done. And you all can go and see, certain things that might come off as unorthodox inspiration, but you see this shape right here? This shape right here is helping with the development of issues 8 and 9. And maybe possibly something to do with issue 10. Either what might be the storyline for issue 10 or something that will be an important part of issue 9 or 8. What do you think it is? How do you think it will work? Do you believe? And no, this is not sculpted this way. Observe. Yes. But further you go. It's all through magnets. It's an interwoven succession of magnets that makes these kind of shapes, as you see right here. Or this. And no, it is not a means to summon Pinhead. I've played with this enough that so far I have not seen any Cenobites coming in to my home. So that is fun. An interesting little holster. Or some type of acid trip spaceship you would see in a comic drawn by Mobius back in the 80s. If you ever saw the World of Adina comic that he did, which I do own the Dark Horse's hardcover translation of. Tell me this isn't something you would see in a psychedelic trip. If you hold it up in this way, it still looks like, whoa. Wow. It's talking to me. It's talking to me. And it also would make an interesting way to go and hold nachos. Either nachos or the actual nacho cheese or salsa. You pour this in there and you stir it up like that. If you like your chips and salsa for, the Super Bowl or whatever. College football is going to be starting before the pro football season. And yes, the first Saturday in September is when we're going to be getting Michigan football. And then you got this one. Interesting shape. If you go, this is one of those where the different shapes you can make are absolutely amazing at whatever angle or perspective. Although this one is simple because you have these flat surfaces, and whatever surface is like the one that looks like the most you can, sit it on firmly and it won't roll over or fall down. So this, by default, to me, this makes it this one. But there will be more if you continue to observe the metamorphosis. You just have to go and observe with your eyes. And we're back to this one. But if we're able to go and invert it, Now, if we can flip it inwards, and you notice all the pretty colors, all the pretty candy. Daddy, look at all the pretty candy. Have you ever seen so many beautiful colors? Aha. Yes. Trying to make interesting shapes while also not snapping anything apart is half the fun. Like this. He's going to shit when he realizes it's shit. Who got the lighter? And here's a shape that's going to anger every free Palestine dipshit on Earth. So maybe I should just keep it like this, since it resembles the Star of David. Or if you remember the fake trailer at the end of History of the World Part 1, there's History of the World Part 2, including the Jews in Space musical number. Well, Jews in space. Well, Jews in space. And all the other things that people who watch Joy Reid unironically think are true. Because they're that paranoid and fucking stupid. E.g. the Democrat voter base. Oh, Henry. Except then there's certain parts that get flappy like this, I know. I get the feeling that this shape is not supposed to be like an actual shape you can put it in, because there's that section that's, you know, like that, just back. Back. Imagine like a chimpanzee playing with this. Oh. Do you see what we're doing here? Oh. Oh. No, it is a means to summon us. Explorers are the farther edges of experience, demons to some, angels to others. As a man who escaped you, nobody escapes us. His name is Frank Cotton. But if you betray us, we'll tear your soul apart. I wish I could do, if I could figure out how to do it, to make it into that Leviathan shape, you know, the Lord of Hell that's just a giant prism, a giant metal prison floating through a big gray labyrinth. If you do it like that, because then that's at the end of Hellraiser 3, that's what Dax makes the lament configuration into, to then, bam, impale Pinhead to save herself, at least. Like I said, there's another one where the different shapes and the different perspectives and the different angles become fun. And they make them with different surface patterns, so you can really, you know, trip out on the psychedelia. It's just the one that I got here is very trippy. And also they advertise that you can go and get several of them, like get multiple of them, and you can make them into different shapes that you can then lock together to make other bigger superstructures, which would be very interesting. Right now, there's a deal. They're usually $24.99, but on Amazon, they're like $17 and change. So you can get one of them for yourself, and I recommend them. If you want something that would be very visually interesting and make you feel very creative the way you play and how you play with it, and also something that has no exact shape except for the basic cube form. I mean, the more you play with it, the more you notice how you can make all these shapes out of something that's a basic box. It makes you feel like some type of cosmic wizard. It makes you feel like you're Doctor Strange or the Silver Surfer. And I mean, even without having to drop acid, it makes you wonder about the greater structures either the infinitesimal smaller structures that make up everything, or the larger, more mammoth structures that may be truly what constitutes creation. Yes. Absolutely, positively. Just whoa, man. I'm totally tripping balls. I thought it was like, although, and also this one, you can hold, it has a good enough basis where you can hold it into different positions. Like this is a pretty, good, solid, like way to have it, perched up like this. You want to keep it this way. But then also this also works well. So it can be some type of superstructure like building or some type of spaceship where either this is how you hold it up front or this is how you hold it up front, like this way. Ooh. Wow. Ooh. Oh. Ooh. Whoa. If you've ever seen the old Doctor Strange, the 60s Steve Ditko Doctor Strange comics, or the 60s Stan Lee, John Buscema Silver Surfer comics, which I've wanted to get into, but I've never been able to get the classic, like the original Silver Surfer comic from the 60s that was, Stan Lee and John Buscema working together, and that's some, very beautiful trip out work right there. If this be my destiny. Or maybe if you play with this long enough, it will drive you insane and drive you into the arms of Satan, depending on what type of pattern you get right here. And also, I brought it up last night, and actually I found it in my basement earlier when I needed to go and get the bags and boards to package all of the copies of Encrypted issue 4. I went, I found this this was part of, there actually were a couple different publishers that did Clive Barker related comics. There was Eclipse Comics, which they were the ones that actually published that series I was talking about, Tapping the Vein. That was an anthology series that was adapted doing comic adaptations of the stories from Clive Barker's Books of Blood short story collections, as well as a couple of them that were stories that were individually adapted, like into their own standalone comics, like Rawhead Rex and the Yattering and the Jack. The Yattering and Jack was the one that got adapted into an episode of Tales from the Dark Side, if you ever watched that. And Rawhead Rex was the one that it was made into the movie that Barker hated so much, it's what motivated him to go and just direct a movie based on one of his own works, because he was so tired of other filmmakers fucking them up. And that's how Hellraiser got made. Well, the visual representation of what I said of Rawhead Rex being more accurate to the description in the story, but not being so much that it comes off like a Hustler cartoon of being a 9-foot phallus with teeth. Well, that's how it is. And I think I told you before about, like, years ago when I was still going to Astronomicon regularly, there was one year I went there and actually sold a piece of my art to somebody who one of the things they bought was the drawing I did of a more story accurate Rawhead Rex with the 9-foot phallus with teeth. And as you see on the cover art, I mentioned that here was some of the earliest American work that Kevin O'Neill did, or at least I know, he was the artist on martial law as well as the stuff he was doing in the UK. But this was like I said, it wasn't his first American work, but it was very early for him. And I think mostly it was him doing cover art or like pinup work. And, well, so let's take a look at that being very interesting. I'm not sure who it's from, but it's definitely not, you can just tell it's not Bill Sienkiewicz, but that doesn't matter. Although, that Bill Sienkiewicz is bound to have done at least a pinup for one of these. And speaking of that, yes, the big prism that shoots out black smoke, that is the Lord of Hell. Like I said, as much as I like Hellraiser 2, the vision of hell is pretty boring, where all you see is just one big, large, gray labyrinth with no, song numbers or creatures like what you see in Labyrinth. And with this being a lot of different artist styles, you've got the last story in this issue does contain some very beautiful painted artwork right there, which has, gotten me to it's crossed my mind about whether or not I would ever want to go and do a comic that I would actually paint instead of draw. Something like when you see anthologies like this, or when you see a comic like Arkham Asylum, which is mostly painted, maybe in the future I'll go ahead and do that. Maybe something Pain Machines like that will be its own story that I'll go and, use the Copics or whatever and, and do it that way, as opposed to going in and drawing. Although these, are most definitely some Sienkiewicz pieces right here. Either that or Dave McKean or Al Columbia when he first was working in comics, and he was doing Dave McKean and Bill Sienkiewicz. He was able to perfectly replicate their styles before he started doing everything in his own, doing everything in an imitation of old like Betty Boop and Popeye cartoon style, but making it be all horrific shit. Because then you see this artist here is all it's more traditional with the rendering, the drawing with coloring. I'm not saying it as a detriment. It's just saying it, different styles. Because one of the things, especially with all the modern Tumblr crap going on in modern comics, it's the same as what goes on in cartoons, where for all their talk about diversity and inclusion, everything has to look exactly the same. Every cartoon show has to look like Steven Universe, and every comic book out there has to look like Steven Universe fan art, and it's fucking disgusting and repetitive. As opposed to this, who looks like somebody who actually knows that a story isn't just two people sitting for endless 9-panel pages talking about their gender pronouns and then a splash page of a forced gay kiss. Here, no, it's an actual story that's visually being told by somebody who can actually draw. And I mean draw like actually draw if you take away the digital tablet. That sort of situation. Or hell, this doesn't really even have anything to do, from what I can observe, with like the actual Hellraiser franchise. But I mean, talk about somebody who's actually got skill versus all that crap you see with the shit that's written by Gabby Rivera and what have you, or how I think actually it was Chris Samney was the artist that really he was the main artist there, or at least the original artist on the incredibly overrated Mark Waid Daredevil run that then became the clarion call for the rest of the side-shaped CalArts cringe that's destroyed Marvel and DC. Yeah, this guy right here, this curious gentleman, he signed it, but it's such a stylized signature. I'll have to look in the credits to see what his name is. But yeah, here's a guy who actually has skill. Between the man right here, this exposed muscle type of man, and these I don't want to say tiki torches, tiki statues maybe, or imagine seeing that as a Halloween costume. This it looks like a painting done of one of the members of Slipknot, doesn't it? It does to me, at least. And also, you have a nice little forward from the consulting editor on this, D.G. Chichester, an underrated writer who was mainly best known for, he did a lot of editing work on stuff that Marvel did in their Epic imprint. He was the writer on the Pinhead miniseries that Marvel did through the Epic imprint as part of the Hellraiser-related comics they did in the 90s. And I told you about how Boom Studios now is that it's available for pre-order on Amazon. There is the Boom Studios Hellraiser omnibuses, and also there's a Boom Studios Pinhead. They're doing a reprint of the Pinhead miniseries from the 90s that D.G. Chichester was the writer on. As he also was going and doing his very underrated work on Daredevil, because I do have the couple of Marvel Epic collections that contain the 2 or 3 years that Chichester was writing Daredevil, and at a time of where everybody was so fixated, positively or negatively, on the whole Rob Liefeld, Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane crowd, you had D.G. Chichester quietly maintaining the quality of Daredevil with the work he did And even with the storyline later on in his era where like he had a young Scott McDaniel as his artist, Scott McDaniel doing a great approximation of the Frank Miller Sin City heavy brush inking, high contrast photo negative inking, brush inking style, although still doing it with the storyline. I think Fall from Grace was the name of it, where they changed Daredevil's costume into something that was straight in line with the rest of the gauche, you could say, early 90s comic book edgy reinventions that all the superheroes were going through, either ironically or unironically. Like, the whole Batman Nightfall storyline being something that was meant to be one big rebuke of the 90s edgy superhero style of characters, coming in. And then you had, of course, the death of Superman, where the replacement Superman were mostly unironic, 90s edge, extreme reinventions and all of that. And of course, there was the Wonder Woman storyline that did that, where they brought in the new blonde Amazonian to take over being Wonder Woman, which was just more of a shallow like ripoff of Batman Nightfall that was like here and gone within like a year or so. And that was the reason why for a bit Wonder Woman had that terrible like 90s style redesign where it was like a tracksuit with hooker boots and a denim jacket over it that I think Brian Boland came up with, because that was during the era of Brian Boland was the cover artist. And then on the inside, you had, Mike Deodato Jr.'s breakout work in America, which was him just clearly doing an imitation of Rob Liefeld, to the point where Rob Liefeld even hired him away from DC to go and be the artist on one of his multiple attempts to cash in on the whole bad girl, trend of that time with the Glory, which I had that run because I actually do like Mike Deodato's work, and mainly kind of how, unlike other artists out there, he can actually really like alter his style. There is the more illustrative pen and ink style that he's been using since like the late 90s or so. Like, when he first really got to see it when he was the artist for a bit on Dark Horse's Xena Warrior Princess comic. But then there was that imitation Rob Liefeld style that he used on like his run on Thor and, Wonder Woman and, of course, with Glory. But then his first real American work was in a smaller with an Innovation Press, the airbrushed painted Beauty and the Beast comic miniseries that he painted. And yeah, that's, I know. And then the more illustrative styles, what he's been doing and work he's done since then. But of course, because, such is the way of, Marvel and DC being such cheap asses, they only will get these established big name and also worthy of being paid artists to do like cover art or like a little 4-page thing or some kind of like little prestige miniseries, like getting Mark Silvestri to do that Joker's Wild miniseries at DC. Or there was the talk about doing a sequel storyline to Hush, which I think still hasn't come out. Or you had Steve McNiven working with Charles Soule, the last like readable Daredevil writer that Marvel's hired since I've heard great things about the work that Ed Brubaker did, but I've never read any of that. And yeah, Charles Soule did a miniseries with Steve McNiven drawing that was almost like a fan fiction of Elektra Lives Again, right down to Steve McNiven even going out of his way to replicate that Linnae Claire drawing style that Frank Miller used on Elektra Lives Again, which I actually have a first edition of that in that big hardcover format that was that Marvel printed Elektra Lives Again through their Epic imprint of, and that was also the last comic that the last Marvel comic that Frank Miller ever drew. And it is a great style, although another reason about that clean, simple Linnae Claire style is that it really makes your artwork, open, quote unquote, for a colorist. I think that's what people have said when looking at my work of how, with as open as my drawing style usually is, it really, focusing more on coloring or on developing as a colorist or hiring a colorist would help. And well, there is the idea of how maybe, in the future of adding a bit more color to each page inside, like go and actually do what Alan Moore was trying to do, was one of the big plans he had with his big unfinished self-published series, Big Numbers. Because yes, another one, it was a big established talent that I've already surpassed with getting 4 issues written and drawn and self-published. is Alan Moore. Because, yeah, Alan Moore only was able to get 2 issues of big numbers out there, and he planned on doing 12, and the third one was finished but never legitimately published. And the rumor out there is that, yeah, the replacement artist for Bill Sienkiewicz drew issue 4 of big numbers and then destroyed all the artwork. So that never existed, or like that never got out there. Well, now so far, I'm now, I'm now gaining distance. I'm now running up the score against Alan Moore with 4 issues of the series. And also, I'm planning to do it for 12. And in issue 2, you'll see there is one little bit of color in one page. There's one page where we see in the panel a poster of a fractal, and the fractal is brightly colored. But the first issue was all black and white, and issue 2 is also black and white, but then there's that one little bit of color in one panel. And the plan was supposedly that they would gradually increase the amount of color in each issue until the 12th and final issue would then be totally done in color. And maybe or maybe not, I will be doing something similar with incorporating bits of color more and more on into pages as time goes on, mainly also as a way of doing more work in developing my coloring. I do think that, yes, I have gone and improved between just issues 4 and 5 color jobs alone. If you look, even though, like I said, yeah, it's still like, I don't know if I should leave so much of that area blank white, like the first 3 issues had so much, white areas in there. Well, here, the nun's habit that's all white, but that, it makes sense because, yeah, she's wearing a white habit. But here, you get a little fun. And what's also fun about these with when you use the Copics on the Bristol board, the Bristol board's a lot tougher, so it doesn't really seep or leak out like if you were to use regular drawing and or sketch paper. But still, the patterns on the back can be very fun. Like that would be like a really weird, like conceptual art thing to do. That'd be more, prestige and more like, pompous for doing it like gallery exhibits of showing the back of artwork like that to then show this off, to show it like this. Oh no, this is how you really observe it. To wonder what is truly the image. You see only the back of the image, so then it leaves you. It opens up in your mind to what the artwork truly is. Is it truly what you see observed in such the way that only those conventional minds can handle? Or would it be something more opaque? Yes. That is the way to do it. Yes, sir. Considering we have something that works like the lament configuration around here, although not quite, because, well, remember, I think it's actually Nick showed me that, yeah, he actually does have a replica of the lament configuration from Hellraiser. So, yeah, he's got the real thing. I've got something that moves and shapes like it that makes you wonder what other dimensions are like. And actually, there's a nice little blurb on the back. Let's see what this says. The delightful wickedness of Clive Barker's hell waits for its victims in more than mere puzzle boxes. It waits in the mystery of crystal life forms light years away. It waits in seductive whispers of evil at a Parisian artist colony. It waits in the notes of musical genius plays on the way to madness. Inside these pages, hell waits for you, and it can afford to be patient. It has eternity on its side. Because it has such sights to show you. Please, no tears. It's a waste of good suffering. Will tear your soul apart. I mean, as you can no doubt see by this curious gentleman over here, just a, curious thing. And they even have the great Stan Drake working on one of these as an inker. The Crystal Precipice is the first story in this. Let's see. The stories they have are The Crystal Precipice, The Blood of a Poet, Songs of Metal and Flesh. And the front and end piece illustrations are by Ted McKeever, is the artist name. So this is Ted McKeever. And this one is also Ted McKeever, except here you actually do see the lament configuration in there. Thus you can find the way home. Do you see what I see? Another you think has escaped us, Kirsty? So eager to play, and so reluctant to admit it. How about as a chatterer, the one there that puts the fingers in the girl's mouth when you see all the Cenobites together? And I also actually have a correction to make. I talked about how I used up all of the great tracing paper from Hobby Lobby. Turns out, no, simply on my shelf when I was sliding in the issue 4 copyright here. So now I can have, all 4 copies of the comic right there. On the shelf, I already had a good slab of the Hobby Lobby tracing paper. So that's just me being stupid that I forgot that I had this. But yeah, now, those... Well, now I have a proper and easier and more efficient way to go and trace like that when it comes to, things like... maybe I'll go and trace this cover over again now that I have... now that I remember where I put that quality tracing paper to go and trace over all this, where this promiscuous lawyer or lusty accountant, or maybe even just a very, very, very sexy librarian. If you're like me and, you've got it bad because you're hot for teacher, well, there you go. Got it bad, so bad. I'm hot for teacher. I go like this, I got it bad. And Gaspar Saladino is the artist of this story that I was talking about, of somebody who actually knows how to draw and somebody that can visually tell a story. Right here. Well, with a name like Gaspar Saladino, I don't exactly think he was an artist that was, from Huntsville. So let's hope that he either found great work doing fine art somewhere, or maybe even work in entertainment some way, in advertising or in Hollywood, or he found himself back in his native country and was able to prolifically work as a cartoonist over there and get some work done that was something to make all women tremble. Just the way we observe. And also there's some titty. Come on, titty. Come on, titty. I kind of felt bad because when I was doing that, I felt like I did that with my mind. Because the whole time I was like, come on, titty. Come on, titty. You should have seen the girl before you. Oh. And you all know what happened the next moment. That's it. Time for Asmongold. Or is it time for Teletubbies? I can never tell. Time for Teletubbies. Time for Teletubbies. Tinky Winky. Gypsy. La la. Po. When the Teletubbies would do their little lineup all together, and there'd be the one that would grab the... I was more concerned about how Poe, the red one, it always looked like it was grabbing his ass to me. That's I was more bothered by that. Although now when you look at it, yeah, Jerry Falwell may have had a point when it came to Tinky Winky, because Tinky Winky does kind of sound like a dude doing like a drag. Tinky Winky does sound like a drag queen to me. When they're all lined up and they all have to say their name, and Tinky Winky. Yes. But I think the Teletubbies are still on in the UK. But I mean, I remember them fondly. If you do as well, or if you even watch them at all, I don't know. I don't assume everybody put on as much PBS as others have. It could be, maybe you could, maybe you couldn't, or it is a case. It should be a case by case basis with the Teletubbies. Or if you remember the episode of The Simpsons where they go to Brazil and they're watching Teleboobies on TV. Yes, Teleboobies. And it's like the carnival dancer with the tassels, and she demonstrates clockwise and counterclockwise with her with the tassels and her breasts, how they go one way or another. Clockwise, loo, counterclockwise. Look, everybody, it's Carnival. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I could show it to you right here. Look at The Simpsons. Yes. The Teleboobies. If Bart has a traumatic experience at Brazil, I can show you all of the Carnival.
Hey. Time for Brazil's favorite.
Clockwise. Counterclockwise.
Call.
Well, she's not wrong. I'm pretty sure that's how Sofia Vergara demonstrated clockwise and counterclockwise to her son. Or at least that is a guess that I'm probably correct about. I mean, remember, she did have her son when she was like, what, 18, 19 or something? So it's not that far off. It's not that far off a guess. And what would you even name this shape now that I'm looking at it? Every angle from which you can look at it is some other type of acid trip. Oh, wow, wow, wow. Hell, even like this angle, it's like this is a firm angle where you can go and look at it. I'll hold it off camera to see. Yeah, it's standing up. Any angle at which you can hold it and have it stand up is some type of ooh. I'm freaking out, man. This is the kind of thing where if you licked it, you would then look at everybody and say, the snozberries taste like snozberries. Pull the vehicle over. He's already pulled over. He can't pull over any farther. Do you boys like Mexico? Oh. And now I see that they're doing a Super Troopers 3. The trailer for it was in front of Backrooms of all movies. Because, yeah, when you look at a movie like Backrooms, that's definitely the type of movie that is where... yeah, that Super Troopers 3 very much matches that. At least with the Chris Hansen biopic, it makes a bit of sense because, well, that's also an A24 production. So, yeah, other releases they've got coming out make sense. But then, Super Troopers, which I believe is actually being done through Disney, because, yeah, the first one I think was made through Fox. And now because of Fox buying up, Disney, Disney buying up Fox. So now that means, yeah, technically any follow-up Super Troopers movie is now that. And also the fact that you can go and, well, remember... It was made, all the Super Trooper franchise is all directed by a Hindu man, so it's actually protected from any type of like woke turnaround or revision because, well, a Hindu guy's directing it, so who are you to go and try to interfere with the work of J. Chandrasekhar? And hello to Donnie right there. Nice to see you here. As we're looking at this Shishibo cube, I believe is how it's pronounced. I think it's a Japanese type of puzzle toy that's not really even like a puzzle you solve so much as something that you can go and, yeah, Shishibo, that's what it's called. It's a Shishibo cube that you can make. It's made through a series of interlocking magnets that you can go and make all sorts of psychedelic shapes with, or one shape that then you can hold the different angles to make it look like different shapes, like what I'm doing right here. Or just making sure it works. And, imagine if they had this for like, acid house people in like 1967. This would be even bigger than the lava lamp. Just looking at this and going, whoa. The colors, the colors. Wow, the colors. The colors, Duke. The colors. I'm colorblind, kid. Popsicles, but how? From Good Humor. If you remember those acid trip commercials from back in the 90s, yes. Let me show you that. Good Humor. Popsicle commercial. Yeah, we got a montage of them to go and show you, if you don't remember.
Whoa, Pops!
Micro Pops for Micro Licks.
What a run!
What a runt!
Touchdown!
Popsicle zone! Ho-ho!
Tell me they were not taking notes from Tommy Chong as they gave him salvia to come up with the visuals in these commercials.
New Juice Busters with juicy centers.
Say it, don't spray it.
Popsicle zone! Ho-ho!
New Scribblers.
Imagine if this was available to the people coming up with those Good Humor ads back at that time. It would definitely make much more of a trip.
Play and shake Pops.
Guess who?
Busted again, kid.
Popsicle! Ho-ho!
New Starship in cosmic flavors. My.
There we go.
My bone.
Popsicle zone! Ho-ho!
Big stick for that bigger lick.
Bird brain.
Popsicle zone! Ho-ho!
Okay. The popsicle. You ate it. We came. It's just a popsicle from Good Humor. But how? No, it is a means to summon us. What are you? Explorers on the outer regions of experience. Demons to some, angels to others.
New Sprinklers. Candy-coated ice cream.
Fetch, Duke!
Nice throw, doofus.
Popsicle zone! Ho-ho!
New liquor color. As you lick, they change colors. The colors, Duke. The colors.
These ones I actually remember having the Licka color. Yeah, that was the horrible chemicals that they were putting inside you with those. Are they worth the colors, Duke? I wonder. It's like when they had that one Slurpee drink at Burger King, where when you drink it, it would make your tongue black. It was a Halloween-themed like slush Slurpee drink that they had at Burger King. Yeah, it's another one where, oh my God, the damage that you were doing to your innards.
I'm colorblind, kid.
Popsicle! Ho-ho!
From Good Humor. Huh? New Fantastic Fruity. 5 real fruit flavors.
They're fruit flavors because there's obviously no actual fruits in there.
Hey, Baldy! Baldy!
Popsicle! Ho-ho!
From Good Humor. New Sherbet Cyclone. Raspberry orange and lemon lime.
Down, boy. Down.
Popsicle! Ho-ho!
From Good Humor.
Are you crack?
Well, these I still see, and there's a lot of inventory of them when I went to Kroger today of those. I don't think it's this brand, but yeah, still that generic, like kind of firecracker bottle rocket patriotic look. Yeah, there's a lot of them out there.
Here, now with more intense flavors.
Only want a firecracker.
Popsicle. Ho-ho!
Yes, very interesting, but stupid. Let's see a real acid trip freakout if we can find it. The darkest acid trip story on the internet? Okay.
You're shopping with blinders on. It's a meat gold mine over there. Premium cuts.
Lysergic acid dithalidomide, also known as acid, is a potent psychedelic that, if taken in high doses, a person will strongly manifest visual and auditory hallucinations. This is coupled with dilated pupils, elevated heart rate, and a strange phenomenon called ego dissolution.
Yeah, because that's what you really need, elevating your heart rate and ego dissolution. That's just fine.
This is when your own person, your sense of self, turns into nothing.
Well, maybe now you know why the MK Ultra people and why San Franciscan socialists and New York Bolsheviks love making you trip.
Integrates. You are no longer a human. You're no longer yourself. And what's left is the LSD experience.
And well, no wonder people so obsessed with identity politics love shit like this or cross-sex hormones that completely destroy your identity. So that it can become whatever left-wing leaning parasites that want you to gun down the future children of Trump voters would go and do.
What's left is the trip. This video will cover one story in particular, a haunting experience about a man whose perception was radically altered by this substance. The story that I'm about to tell you, and one similar like it, can all be found on one website, arrowhead.org, a place where trip reports are shared, both good and bad. And if after this video you are interested in reading more stories like this, the link to arrowhead.org can be found in the description box down below. Our first story is from Hiab X. About 10 years ago, I bought my third tab from a guy in my hometown in North.
Why does this feel like it's an off-brand Mr. Nightmare video? Between the narration and the stock footage and the background music.
UK. It was a strawberry tab, and I was told that it had been double dipped. The guy had a reputation of selling good acid, so I happily gave him my cash. My being in Norwich was just a social visit over a couple of days and catching up with friends. On the last day there, I decided to drop a tab and use my friend's home as a trip HQ. He knew what I was up to. He had gone to work and left me his keys to make myself comfortable. I took the single LSD tab in the late morning in a positive state of mind with no worries or anxieties. I began to come up on the acid towards lunchtime. It was the first time and the last time I'd ever trip alone. Outside, it was a glorious sunny day, but I was happy enough in my temporary sanctuary to not really think about going outside. After a while, the LSD rush started blazing up my spine and racing through my guts. I felt a little uneasy, but I had enough in mind to allow myself to just go with it and just wait until the rush plateaued. After a while, it calmed down.
All this is inspiring me to even more be sober as a judge. Unless, of course, it's a, Seattle or New York City judge. Then they are, completely drug-addled or booze-addled little activists that will do anything to keep any criminal free from the justice system so long as they rape kids or have the right melanin count.
Decided to sit upstairs in the house and listen to some music on the radio in the sunlit bedroom. I was having a wonderful time watching floral Escher-type patterns breaking over my skin. I enjoyed looking in the mirror, looking at my grinning face, and this distinct map contour patterns gently washing over my flesh. It really seemed like a great start. Well, I vaguely recalled deciding to go downstairs again for some reason, and the next thing I recall was awakening on the floor of the dining room alone. The first thing I noticed was that there were blowflies buzzing around a bowl of cat food on the kitchen floor, which was in view. I remember feeling perplexed as to why both flies had two bright neon after images in red and blue. I sat up and tried to figure out why I was on the floor in the first place. Now, it's worth pointing out before I take you down this helter-skelter that somehow, because of my blackout, I had completely forgotten that I'd taken anything at all. Prior to tripping, though, I wrote myself a note of reassurance.
I think it was Robin Williams who said that blackouts are like sleepwalking with activities. It's your consciousness going into witness protection. It's your mind saying, dude, you're about to fuck a hobbit. I gotta go take a break.
Insurance in case things got too weird. So sitting up on the floor still, I found my note and tried to read it. Alas, because I was on acid, the words made no sense to me. Instead, they morphed like alien glyphs and danced around the piece of paper. It was then my last little link of sanity crumbled, and I heard my voice utter the terrifying words, "I've gone mad." I had a feeling that I had to be somewhere else, which then got heightened by the digital watch I was wearing suddenly beeping a time alarm at me, but I had no idea why or what it meant. So I left my sanctuary, and I later found out that I left the back door wide open, thus making the house entirely a burglar's free-for-all. I remember waking up almost on autopilot on a busy street heading towards town. I saw one of my old teachers who saw me, but the only thing I did was force a grin and keep on walking. And I did indeed walk. Not so much as a conscious effort or with any sense of intent. I felt utterly out of control. I collided with someone carrying their shopping, vaguely heard them cuss at me as I continued my stride. I turned down a passageway between two houses and strolled through the back door of a house I'd once lived in, then past the new inhabitant and out the front door. I walked into the city center from there. I still don't know how I survived crossing roads, but I did. From there, I strolled into a city cafe where my friend's son was working. He saw me and said hello, but in my acid-addled state of autopilot, I just walked past him into the main cafe and sat down. Then I stood up and walked out of the cafe without uttering a word. Other than being completely out of lunch on LSD, at that time on the trip, I don't recall hallucinating. Instead, I felt like a puppet on a string guided by some subconscious walking mechanism which had its own design on where I should be, and there certainly wasn't any cognitive thinking that guided my actions. After the brief cafe episode of the trip, the situation just went from bad to worse. Somehow I navigated myself through Norwich and then began to head in the direction of the city's Central Park. As a child, I'd always felt a sense of friendliness and comfort there, but now in my fried state of mind, the familiar comfort of this park had shifted to its polar opposite. I was now hallucinating on top of everything else. The people in the park were walking around, but my perception had begun to distort, their heads and faces beyond any form of human recognition. If you could imagine for a moment being surrounded by people in a busy place where their heads had been removed and replaced by squids and octopus, you might begin to accurately picture the scene confronting me in this park. Everyone had tentacles smothering their faces and dangling down their necks like fleshy snake beards. Even the women and children were not exempt from this disfiguration. The octopoid heads were white in appearance, and each person seemed to have baleful, staring eyes where their ears should have been. Even in my state of autopilot, I felt nothing but sheer terror at this alien swarm of people walking around me. My feet obviously decided to take evasive maneuvers because I then found myself out of the park, having crossed yet another treacherous main road and was now heading towards a multi-story apartment block.
Okay. And hello to our friend here, Forever Lost. What's going on right now is that issue 4 just arrived from the printer today. Oh, yeah. You see right there? In the flesh, baby. To all my love slaves out there, issue 4 is here. Right down to special little pages. And also, I'd like to add 4 of the original pages, 4 pages of the original artwork to this comic are now up in my store. Yes, there is now. Let me just show you here. Scroll down. Yes, there they are now in all their glory. Is the first 4 issues. And also we did go and simplify the subscription category. So now all you got to do is just click on there and you can order yourself one or multiple 1-year subscriptions to Encrypted. But the options are now just simply the 1-year subscription or the 1-year subscription with your copies autographed are now just one little category. And we go down past the promotional art. You see the original pages. We've got 4 pages of issue 1 here. We have 7 to issue 2. And then we've got 4 to issue 3. And here we've got 4 pages of original artwork for issue 4 available for sale. All the pages are for $425 a piece. Yes, that's my going rate for writing, drawing, and lettering an issue. My page rates for writing and drawing and lettering. Yes, 100 story, 300 art, 25 lettering. So here we go. And well, yes, I'm able to keep on going and moving and jump driving. Oh yes, right here, just like this. Although, of course, with the way that comic pages are naturally tall and meant for a more wider area, so that sort of, anti-letterboxing is what leads to, when you look at the artwork here, the way that the item photos for Square like crops things off. Yeah, this is what you see when you go on there. And well, that's just the way Square's always worked. I think that's why the original artwork I do at 11 by 14, those pieces in color, are always, and especially now working from scans of that instead of just photos off my phone, they work so much clearer and better and stronger and sharper. Especially with something like this. That's that little Whitley Strieber communion alien in the center of all these other alien archetypes, yes. Even according to, the deepest bowels of the whole UFO and ufologists, that even the Nordics, the big, tall, strapping blonde men and the tall, strapping, toned, statuesque, beautiful blonde women are actually just aliens. Yes, they're just another species of aliens. And it's much easier for them to, walk around while being noticed in a positive way, as opposed to, if our friend here in the center, or this little mantis man over here, or this Star Trek monster on the right over there got noticed, then it would definitely draw everyone's attention. And of course, we've got a recreation on the top there of that one big section, that one big mural you have in like the elevators, in like the main elevator chamber right there on the ground level, the lobby of Rockefeller Center. As issue 4 takes place in New York City. And I really went visually through New York City looking for places that would be something memorable and worthwhile to, draw in some form or another. Hence why issue 4, of course, well, I went with the Statue of Liberty as opposed to Times Square or, Central Park. Although Central Park does feature prominently in this. And the ending to issue 2 takes place in Times Square. And there may or may not be more pieces of future issues of Encrypted taking place in New York City in some form or another. Well, thank you there. Now I just wish that someone would actually go and buy up some of those original pages. But then again, that's just for all the work I do. And until then, I'll just go and keep on playing with this thing, with this Shashibo Cube, it's called. I don't know if you've seen these, but it's this toy that comes from, it's a box that is made by a succession of interlocking magnets. And if you pull apart these magnets, you're then able to go and successfully morph them and twist them into all kinds of other shapes, including one that's especially fun due to its mathematical simplicity. I believe this is one of the 5 Pythagorean solids. Yes, and the fact that a simple box can be transmogrified into this is definitely something that would boggle the mind, even without the use of LSD, or noticing the patterns they've got. And that there are basically 3 different sides to this box, and that they all have some kind of, pattern right there. Some of the kind of, wow. It's talking to me, man. It's alive, man. It's alive. Alive, I tell you, alive! Is it alive? Has it broken your little heart? Does it find ways to frighten you? Or is there something more nefarious within your little heart? Oh, maybe. If we just observe this more. You find something most unpleasant in this simplest of designs. And it's also one of those where you can move around like this, and it just keeps going and going and going and going. It moves and twists in various shapes, endlessly varying shapes, even when you keep it in one shape. The toy is really cool. Does it lead to all kinds of pleasures? Oh, what sights we have to show you. No, this isn't for your eyes. Now, if only I could figure out how to change it into the spear to then stab him in the heart with. But like I said, I don't have Terry Farrell's number on standby, so I can't call her so that then she can show us how she did this while, looking so sexy and fierce in that tight little sweater and those little painted on black pants. Yoga pants were really a thing back in the early 90s, so those couldn't have been the skin tight pants she was running around in while running away from the Pinhead and all the new Cenobites he made that all look less like Cenobites and more like Slipknot inspired versions of the Borg. But trust me, so far, as long as I've played with this, I have not had any fish hooks rip my nipples and balls off. So either I'm safe and this is safe to play with, or I'm doing something wrong. Yes. Instead of advertising the Baldo, I use the Shishibo. And I think I've shown this before, but there's this, which is an interesting shape that has like 3 compartments. So you can use this either for as some kind of stationery. You can use it to hold, paper clips and like thumbtacks and rubber bands, or you can use them for different kinds of dip. You could have like a salsa here, maybe onion dip here, bean dip there, or the nacho cheese here, salsa here, and spinach dip there. If you're tired of doing that thing they do at Panera where they have like the big bread and they serve you the soup in the hollowed out hunk of bread, you can try doing something with the spinach dip or whatever like this. Because here's how it looks. And if I had like a spindle or whatever to put this on, yes. Maybe this is the rival to the giant prism floating about in hell in Hellbound, Hellraiser 2. It's called the Leviathan. Yes. Maybe this is and then this perspective, or it's some type of psychedelic spaceship from either the Incal or the world of Adina, if you ever read those comic books from France in the 80s. I would definitely recommend one of these. I think, let's see if Amazon still has the deal that they had where they usually retail for $24.99, whether here or whether through Amazon or at the Whistle Stop Hobby and Toys that I go to all the time. Although, if you're a channel member, you also got to see that at the 12 Oaks Mall up in Novi, now 8 months back, Toys R Us reopened there. And that, now Toys R Us apparently is making a return in the way of, Blockbuster. There's that last Blockbuster that's now become like a, tourist attraction for millennials and Gen Xers. Let's see. I would play the Christopher Young score from the Hellraiser movies, but we all know how, music and NFL footage and like new movie trailer footage are the things that the YouTube algorithm shit hammers with copyright. So, no thanks. Oh yeah, it's a limited time deal, and but yeah, here we are. It's apparently a bestseller, and yeah, here's like some shapes, but yeah, if you're interested in a different kind of design, like that's the basic shape. What it looks like you can make 100+ shapes with this. And yes, although the exterior pattern, they're printed with different types of patterns on them, there's really 3 patterns to each one of these. And you can make, the different ones like, there's the Star of David up there. If you really want to piss off Hassan Piker, you can get one of these, figure out how to make it into the Star of David, and then just leave it there. Then there's that type of, like I said, dodecahedron or something like that. This, which kind of looks like a paper hat, either a paper hat or, that type of toy that like the kids would make with paper. That's supposed to be like a fortune-telling thing where you hold it like that. You're supposed to hold it between your fingers like this and go like that. And then you pull the little tab up to see like what number and what message on the inside of it is. There was a whole episode of South Park where the boys all think that it's some type of all-powerful fortune-telling device. Yeah, what a cool little toy, yes. No. It helps to get you off of, so much screen time, and also between the visuals of the surfaces printed on it and also the different shapes you can take with it, you really do feel like some type of Doctor Strange like figure, or like somebody that might wind up, coming into contact with otherworldly creatures. Whether, depending on your disposition, if it's, leather fetish demons that want to torture you, or if it's some sort of John C. Lilly kind of thing, where it is, something to do with dolphins having extrasensory perception, and that they are there to help observe, help you to observe and communicate with the interdimensional alien creatures that are actually are in charge of all of existence. And they're called Echo. If you know anything about John C. Lilly, who was the lunatic that did the dolphin communication research that was funded by NASA, where he was a neurologist who then got NASA-funded research to go and try to teach dolphins to speak English, in the hopes that then NASA could use the techniques he would develop to then go and teach English to aliens. And yes, the guy was out of his mind pounding down the LSD. And John C. Lilly also invented the sensory deprivation tank. So he would go drop acid, go into the tank, and that's how he would psychically communicate with all of his research assistants, who would do things like, of course, notoriously, there's the one lady who gave hand jobs to the male dolphin that she was trying to help. And it led to a Notorious Hustler article in the 70s, and then led to, I think there was like either a BBC and or like a Netflix special about it. And also there was a Saturday Night Live skit about spoofing that, where it shows these two, dolphin trainer ladies trying to get this dolphin to help speak English, and instead all it wants is hand jobs. Forever says, looks like something you would buy out of a Steam toy store meant to make you think with the town, like some kind of smart toy. Yeah, like that. Like this is something almost definitely, if you were ever frustrated by the Rubik's Cube, well, this does not have frustration, but it does definitely help instigate creative thinking and visual learning and problem solving. Oh yeah, that video, yeah. About the dolphin house. Apparently, here's Elon Musk is even talking about Lilly and what he was doing. It was a little strange here. Let's see.
I feel that I am merely an agent.
And this is John C. Lilly's actual words describing Echo, the Earth Control Office that he's called. Yes, Echo, ECCO. Yes, this was what inspired Echo the dolphin.
Giving you some keys, which have been given to me. to pass on to you. These keys are to unlock doors out of your present prison. Doors opening on new vistas. Doors beyond where you are now. In general, the theme of the workshop is that each one of us is far greater, far more advanced, far more consciously aware, far more intelligent than each one of us conceives of ourselves as being. Our main problem.
I meant STEM, not STEAM. Yeah. Also, not town. I meant brain toy. That makes you think tartar. Yeah. Like I said, a brain toy or like a STEM toy. Yeah, those kind of things. It gets. Although, like I said, if you were able to get it into this shape and you could put any 3 kind of sauces in this, what would you put in there? Would you try, tartar sauce, ketchup, and mustard in the 3 compartments that we made right here? Or would you try something else? Maybe something like this. Ooh. Oh. Or are you going to find yourself in an even more psychedelic fervor? Like this one. Oh. Oh. Do you feel?
And self-described consciousness pioneer, prepared the setting for his most ambitious experiment yet. The house had been partially flooded. Ramps were installed at either end so that the tide from the...
And Ferv says, no honey mustard and blue cheese and ranch. Well, okay. I can get it back into that shape. But then again, there's the part that's dangling. This might be the scrotum of this shape. This is a male shape because it's got dangling genitals, just swinging in the breeze. Just. This is like that one scene in Bruno where it's just Sacha Baron Cohen's dick just swinging up and down, and then eventually it looks into the camera and screams out "Bruno" and zooms into the urethra. What's that? I remember that was when still Barbara Walters was still on The View, and she was telling people watching, "Do not take anybody to see this movie, Bruno. There's a penis wagging in close up." And then she even went and did the hand like this. There's a penis wagging. Apparently, Barbara Walters does not like penises wagging in movies. Okay. The toy reminds me of UFOs changing shapes. Oh, yes. If you're not whistling the X-Files theme while you look at this from certain angles, yeah, then you're just strange. Do, 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 Yes, I got to do the hands like I'm David Copperfield or the masked magician from Magic Secrets Finally Revealed. Or Will Arnett on Arrested Development. Remember the magician he was? Yes. Oh. Oh. Wow. Wow. wow, 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 wow. Experience 3D with this Shashibo cube and these Nautica jeans. Wow. She didn't have dong swing her way for years. Oh, yes. Yes, Barbara Walters, she clearly it was more a matter of like when women like that get offended by sex jokes or whatever movies. It's clearly a matter of their soul, their very soul is screaming for good dick. They not only want that good dick, they need that good dick. Their body, their mind, consciously, unconsciously. That's why there aren't as many female protagonists in the Silent Hill games, because if there were, then every single monster hunting them down that they also would be wanting to catch up with them would be some type of penis monster. It would all be some Japanese-ified version of Rawhead Rex. From the story-accurate Rawhead Rex, where he's a 9-foot penis with teeth. That they would all be screaming for it to take them. They want to be taken that way. In case you wonder why there's so many, book talk out there is going crazy for anything that involves some type of monster, if it's a minotaur or an orc that is, taking a woman against her will, if it's like Morning Glory Milking Farm or something very similar to that. The romantasy is all built, not even on sex, but just full-on rape porn. And if you want irrefutable proof that there's a lot of fucked up women who have rape fantasies, and also there are the proof out there that women are hornier than men, well, there you go. It is undoubtedly, it cannot be denied. Just look at the stats on Amazon. Me debating, me who went and just received a copy of St. Thomas Aquinas's The Shorter Summa Theologica from my mother. Meanwhile, there are women out there that are jilling off to women giving handjobs on farms to bull men to pay off their student loans. Although, yup, for sure, ladies, wet dream having a 9-foot dong after them. And what I said before about how that Eclipse comic book adaptation of Rawhead Rex that John Bolton painted, it looks closer to the original description of the monster, but not so much that it looks like just a Hustler cartoon, where it would literally be just like a quickly drawn like cartoon dick that you would see like somebody with like graffiti a dick on a bathroom wall somewhere, like that, but with teeth, and it's literally just like running after them, yeah. But except for women, it would be like that. It would be like that. In case you wonder why it's a bunch of cum-crazed women that are, that would, if you showed them Rawhead Rex, they'd be looking at that and be going, yes, take me, Rawhead. Rawhead, give it to me raw, Rawhead, no condom. Then again, I don't think they make 9-foot condoms. So then again, it would be the women, especially because those same kind of fucked up women also have the idea of how, there's about how their body, their choice, and murdering unborn babies is a good thing. So, of course, they will be the type of female equivalent of the Hugh Hefner types where contraception, is evil. Or no, hey, they're too entitled to ever use condoms. Hey, that's what abortions are for. Why would I want to ever use a condom? That. And then you wonder why those women wind up going to their OBGYN saying, what does it mean when fire shoots out your pussy? So, miss, you're telling me you have a burning sensation when you urinate? No, fire shoots out my pussy. Well, what type of intercourse have you been having? Any kind of unprotected intercourse? Well, there was these 3 Muslim dudes who I went and actually told them to force themselves on me to punish me for being a worthless, disgusting, heathenistic, horror-ish infidel. And, well, I'm just glad they didn't cut my head off. Although, honestly, as I was having multiples while they were all raping me, I was wishing that at least one of them would have taken out one of my eyes to punish me for being an infidel. Lady, you're fucking insane. You don't need an OBGYN. You need a psychiatrist or a padded cell. Yes. And forever, he knows what I'm talking about. He says he meets a ton of women that said that is one of their top fantasies is rape. And you know what I've said before about Black or Hispanic women, and about one of the merits of dating Black or Hispanic women is the lack of self-inflicted psychosexual hangups that a lot of insane white women have. And it's almost always uppity white women. It's always those uppity white women that come from families that are well off, or the type of women that actually think Lena Dunham is insightful. Those types, the Lindsay Ellis types, or the types that actually think Lindsay Ellis was ever worth watching when she wasn't doing chick pop culture reviews for Channel Awesome. Yeah, those type of women. It's always those women that have the rape fantasies. Doesn't matter what your race is, but you think some lady that is like been 10 years into working retail at like a Walmart or a Target is the type of woman that's gonna have the thoughts of being taken by a werewolf or wanting to get gang raped by dudes. No, not at all. Like what I said before about, how Black women go crazy sexually for Kevin Costner, but it's just they want Kevin Costner in the missionary position in their bedroom or in his mansion, and they just want to, ride him, or have him ride her. It's not, grabbing them by their hair, throwing them down, and slapping them with a whip. Unless, of course, it's the really uppity, insane Joy Reid type of women, like the women that were rage tweeting about Bill Maher, dropping an N-bomb as a joke on his show a couple years ago, and were screaming about slavery, like some bitch that Razorfist made fun of in his video where he was defending Bill Maher and saying, it's a cruel reminder of how a slave master could go and have their way with a female slave. No, that sounds more like you are, doing some confession through projection about how you want some white man to go break your house in and have his way with you and grab you and throw you down in his basement or some shit. But yeah, except for those type of psycho activist type of women, which also crosses, race, color, or creed, although not quite, because remember, if you do go into the subsections of those super social justice activism of subtypes, then yeah, those are the Black women who want to be raped by white dudes in MAGA hats or whatever, or that want to do slavery role play. Or with Hispanic women, it's the, the super woke activist Hispanic women types, the AOC types, that then want to get like smacked around by some dude dressed like an ICE agent who's going to deport them. But if it's some, some run of the day, Black lady, they, like I said, my theory of why you've been seeing so many Black women working in the post office is probably because, the 50 people that saw the postman in the theater were the 50 Black women that were diehard fans of Kevin Costner after, The Bodyguard, or hell, maybe even before The Bodyguard. Maybe they went and saw him in a Silverado or in There was a one he did before that was the director of Waterworld. That was the film they did together that led to them being buddies. And then they also went and did Waterworld and Fandango. That was it. Hell, for all we know, maybe they were Black women that, they first all got obsessed, sex crazy over Kevin Costner seeing him in Fandango. But when they went and saw The Postman, it drove them so wild, seeing Costner on horseback restoring America by restarting the Postal Service and being a great positive role model for a lost Black boy who had no family, and yet he found his inspiration for a better life thanks to Kevin Costner, inspiring him to become a postman. And then, while Costner's away, he comes back to that same town that first took him in as a postman, and now the Black kid single-handedly has restored the Postal Service up across the Pacific Northwest. Yeah. That maybe that's what led to all the Black women going into the Postal Service after all the white dudes that were veterans that all got fired and then went on all those shooting rampages that led to all those postal worker jokes you would see in film and TV throughout the 90s, to the point where even in Jumanji, they made a postal worker joke. And then after The Postman comes out, now it's almost nothing but Black women in the post office, probably because all those Black women getting crazy for Kevin Costner, they all went and got jobs at the USPS because of Costner. But you don't see them, wanting to get raped by a vampire or something. Like, because, yeah, those stupid books that then were made into the show True Blood, that's just an excuse for the books where some overweight Southern chick wanting to see some self-insert get porn slammed by werewolf male models and vampire male models. But yes, and Forever brings up, as a doorman, you know how many crazy rich ladies told me their crazy-ass sex stories I had to nod along? Oh, yeah. The kind of shit that was so depraved, it would make Clive Barker vomit. And remember, Clive Barker once wrote a story where a gay couple drops everything to go have sex in the middle of a field in a field in Italy. Yeah. And yeah, it's always the sub that wants this fantasy that, most hands down, not even close. Oh, yes. And hello to Nick in the chat right here. Oh, yes. Congratulations to everybody who is either a subscriber to Encrypted or that pre-ordered Encrypted issue 4, because your copies all got shipped out this evening. Yes, I had to go up to the bigger, more upscale post office there on Mac, where my Uncle Jim used to work there, as that was the station where he was as the head of the local letter carriers union. But yeah, issue 4, at the earliest, your copies should be arriving Friday. And also, I remember to ship out the copies to Jason Brandt to his new P.O. box because of him moving out there. But yeah, issues 3 and 4, he got together because I didn't ship out issue 3 when that print run first came in. And also this weekend, Saturday the 1st, is going to be the Warren Elks comic book and toy show. I'll be there, of course. And also this Friday is when we are going to be launching the pre-order to issue 5 of Encrypted with our cover right here. And yes, you can still vote on whether or not I should leave this margin around this illustration blank or if I should fill it in with color. Do you think I should fill it in with color, or do you think I should leave this whole area blank? I believe RJ last night voted on leaving it blank. I showed this to my sister. She said I should leave it blank. So that's 2 votes for leaving this blank, the margin blank around the illustration with Fiona and the London Underground and the Union Jack below. Yes, it's a layered illustration. Kind of like the layered graphic design that Howard Chaykin would put into his pages and also in his covers for his comic American Flag. So, forever, that's another vote for leave it as it is. So that's 3 votes for leave it as it is. And hello, welcome, milady, to the PVFS. Nice to see you in here. Because yes, we've got, like I said, the great Alan Moore of Watchmen fame failed after 2 issues of his self-published comic. Well, now I am double as good. I'm twice as good as Alan Moore with making and self-publishing a comic book now with issue 4 right here. And also twice as good as Ethan Van Sciver, because I've got now 4 of these when he still hasn't quite even delivered 2 issues of Cyberfrog to everybody. And even though I'm a fan of it, so I'm not going to go and criticize. I'm not saying it as criticism, but still it's valid that, yes, now I've passed Doug TenNapel with his Earthworm Jim and Bigfoot Bill comics. And now tied with Stephen Bissett with his comic Tyrant, that Stephen Bissett was only able to get 4 issues out of his self-published comic about a dinosaur called Tyrant in the 90s, in the wake of Jurassic Park, and still all that dinosaur love. And I'm trying to go and get it, as a comic stocked in museums, with paleontology departments, still was only able to get it past 4. Well, milady is not quite out of the woods yet, but doing okay. All right, that's good to know. And yay on Encrypted issue 4. This is the time to shine, as well as also us, looking at this unique thing. The Shashibo Cube, it's called. As far as I know, it is not a means to summon the Cenobites. Nobody has torn my soul apart yet, as I've played with this. This device where it's a series of interlocking magnets where you can go and make all kinds of different shapes with them, including this one. Or you can hold it up like this. Now, with the different shapes you make, you can pretty much hold them at any kind of angle or perspective, so long as it's able to, lay down firmly and flatly. Like this is a good, flat area to lay it down on. And all the angles, all the observations. You opened it, we came. Who is this? Someone else you think escaped us? And well, I told you before about how Boom is doing they've now got it for pre-order on Amazon, omnibuses of Boom's Hellraiser comics from about a decade ago, but that they're also got for pre-order the Pinhead miniseries that Marvel did in the 90s through their Epic imprint that the most underrated Daredevil writer D.G. Chichester wrote, but also this anthology series they did that I was able to get this one issue of from Comics Corner. I haven't seen it, but if they would go and also get the rights to reprint these, that would be great as well. Although hopefully they don't do anything to alter it or with, because like I said, some of the stories in this were written by the Wachowski brothers before they even wrote Assassins, let alone The Matrix. But I wonder if, for some social justice bullshit or, because they don't want to make Mark Waid angry, don't be surprised if they wind up like altering the credits to change it to their trainee names because they don't want a dead name. Oh, fuck off. And also, this is some very early stateside work for Kevin O'Neill of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen fame. Yes, as usual, the saving grace of, another overrated Alan Moore comic being Kevin O'Neill's artwork. Just this alone is worth the price of admission on anything that I know he would do with Moore. Yes. The Wachowski brothers before they went nuts. But then again, probably the fact that, their career begins and ends with, they did one big science fiction action movie and everything they've done since then has drastically failed to live up to that, including the sequels to it. I mean, even besides the sequels, there's, who else remembers the insurmountable masterpiece that was the Speed Racer movie they made? Or Jupiter Ascending, which I actually saw in the theater. But that was only because my, father wanted to bang Mila Kunis. And the posters promised him Mila Kunis in skimpy dresses and in tight leather in some scenes. Either that or maybe my father was actually a big fan of Magic Mike or 21 Jump Street, and he wanted to see Channing Tatum in those rocket shoes. Although I will admit, yes, those space rocket shoes that Channing Tatum was like skating through the air on did look cool. When it comes to rocket shoes in movies, which bad movie with cool rocket shoes were better? The rocket boots from the 90s Mario Brothers movie or the Channing Tatum rocket shoes from Jupiter Ascending? That's another question I'm asking out to you all today. Which one which was cooler? Because if you remember any parts of that, when you see like Channing Tatum flying around or whatever, it almost kind of makes him look like he's like a speed skater in the Olympics through space or through the air, like Eric Heiden or Dan Jansen, if you ever pay attention to Winter Olympic speed skating like I do. PVFS says you could probably make a weird movie or show just based on that. Well, there may or may not be inspiration into a future issue of Encrypted with this, either as a plot point in issues 8 or 9, or maybe a whole other issue just based off of something similar to this, or some kind of device or entity inspired by this. Just saying. Yes, and well... Yeah, forever. That was in reference to that Hellraiser cover. PVFS says, never saw Jupiter. Honestly, it's pretty boring whenever, like with the Matrix sequels that they did, it's pretty dull when there isn't an action scene going on. Although I will say that there isn't like a lot of self-aggrandizing philosophical talk that just is like word salad. There isn't that. It's more like it feels like a really boringly written attempt to do that sort of Game of Thrones style royal houses in war with each other, but done as like a science fiction, like royal houses fighting each other kind of story, like Game of Thrones was, but just very slow and boring. With a lot of people making negative comparisons to the Star Wars prequels, with all of the, all the Trade Federation scenes and all of the, Galactic Senate scenes, more like that. Yeah, never seen Jupiter Ascending either. Well, then I'm guessing I'm the only one here. But, Mila Kunis looks hot in the tight leather or weird skimpy dresses they put her in. And, yeah, the Channing Tatum's rocket shoes look cool. I wonder who, either working for or inspired by Elon Musk, is going to try to go and make those shoes a thing and then try to go and sell them. And hopefully they're not as lame as like the hoverboard. The hoverboard being nowhere near what we expected it, and when we saw that the hoverboard was, oh, hey, the hoverboards exist now. Not quite. As Pinhead said in the third movie, where he spends most of his screen time sticking his face out of that goofy column, or he's got his face through the column that makes him look like a Pee-wee's Playhouse character. Not quite. And now, boys and girls, like to my new friend, Pinhead! Hello, Pee-wee. What damnation is in store for you? Or because Pinhead's got his face sticking out of that column, it would be a war between Pinhead like that and his friend Jambi, the genie head in the TV box, Mecha Like a High. He was also one of the villain's sons in UHF, the one who trips into the pile of mud at the end of the movie. That guy. Nick says, that's really cool. Kind of looks like one of those paper fortune teller things. Yes, I said that earlier. There's a couple different different shapes that look like one of those paper fortune telling toys that like I would always see kids making in like kindergarten or whatever. And yes, even Nick has never seen Jupiter Ascending. Yeah, that was the one that the Wachowskis directed and wrote after the Matrix sequels and after V for Vendetta and all that. It was trying to be like another big space opera that just... And Warner Brothers knew it was because they put out this $180 million movie in February. When movies are being put in theaters in January and February, that's either a sign of how it's a cheaply made little thing that they're hoping to just dump into that, graveyard that then will like at least make its money back, or it's something that had a bigger budget that was testing terribly with test audiences, and now the studio just threw their hands up and dumped it in January, February. That's why most studios that make horror movies, most of them come out in January because they're quickly, they're smaller things, they're smaller, cheaper films that they can just put out there. And yeah, it's after Christmas, everybody spent all their money, so January they're going to be more frugal. So yeah, that's where we've dumped them out there. Although, yeah, now that I think about it, yeah, the first third, at least, of Hellraiser, which did get an official comic adaptation, because I remember Lenkara a couple years back, the thing, one of his things that he always does is that for 3 straight years, he'll do reviews of comics based off a certain horror movie franchise. Like the first 3 years that he was regularly doing his comic review show, he reviewed Silent Hill comics. And then the next 3 years, he did all the Nightmare on Elm Street related comics. And then for the next 3 years, he did Hellraiser related comics, including an adaptation of Hellraiser 3. And yeah, that one, at least how it looks on the page, makes Pinhead look scarier than in the movie, where it really does look like it really does look like something out of Pee-wee's Playhouse in the movie. And yes, that would be one hell of a crossover. Mecha, oh, it's Jabby! Mecha like a high, Mecha hidey ho. What is this sorcery you speak of? Answer me! Or that, well, I don't really have anything like something I can stick my face through, but yeah, if you remember that part of the movie, although that is cool, the first time he comes to life where the blonde has sex with the dude that bought the column with Pinhead's face in it, and the hooks rip the skin off her body, and then it sucks her into it, and the dude's freaking out, screaming, going, Jesus Christ, and then not quite. But then the longer the scene goes on, and then more scenes afterwards where he's still got his face in the column like that, the more unintentionally funny it makes it look. Because I will say that, the Hellraiser franchise, at least the ones that are watchable, which are the first 4 or so, don't really have that sort of, as much as they could have gone, and they resisted the urge to like try and intentionally make Pinhead like a funny thing, or have him do like quips or one-liners or whatever, or do like self-aware jokes, that don't outside of the killer himself. They didn't do that with the watchable Hellraiser movies. That's what makes that whole thing with him sticking his face through the column look that more silly. because he is, the Shakespearean actor out of those 80s horror monster killers. Yeah. Ars Forever says, man, they could have done so much more with the Pinhead movies. But then, as I've observed, and I don't have any confirmation of it, but considering it's from the same people, that the same Weinsteins that, went and drove Children of the Corn into the ground with straight-to-video sequel after straight-to-video sequel, there was something very similar being done with those guys, with Hellraiser, where, that fourth one they did was such like a production nightmare, and then it bombed at the box office that then they just wound up doing, straight to video, and nothing but after that. I think it was a matter of with like whatever it was, because both Children of the Corn and Hellraiser were franchises that the Weinsteins bought up and they assumed control over through Dimension Films. And I think I have the conjecture out there that it was a matter of, like with, Sony with the Spider-Man movies or the Fox with the X-Men movies, they have to make a new movie under a certain amount of time or else they lose the rights. So it's a situation of like they had to make another Hellraiser movie every 4 or 2 years or so, or else they lose the license. So that's why they did it to the point where I think in 1 year they had 2 Hellraiser movies coming out in the same year, if I remember right. If you look at the Hellraiser movie chronology, movie order, all right. Yeah, there was Hellraiser Deader. That's the one that has the redhead from Kari Wurr. She was the girl on that game show Adam Sandler did, Remote Control. She also was in some other movies like you might remember Anaconda. She was the redhead in that, or Eight-Legged Freaks. She was Scarlett Johansson's mom. Yeah, the movies got so goofy. Like, I agree with what Brandon Tenold said last night in his review of Rawhead Rex, where he said, some people say it's terrible, but it's still better than most of the Hellraiser sequels. And, to the point where it got so bad that that there was one of them they did where Doug Bradley finally just said, fuck you, and gave up on the role. Like, that's not a good sign. When the same guy who was willing to go and do a straight-to-video sequel from the director of the Jaden Smith Day the Earth Stood Still, co-starring Craig Schaefer, and yet it's this one that he's giving up on. Ouch. As I hear, 2005, there was a pair of them that were out simultaneously. They both were released straight-to-video the same year. Deader, that's the one with Kari Wurr, and Hellworld is the internet-themed one that has a young Henry Cavill in it. So yes, there is Pinhead versus Superman. And maybe for Halloween, I might draw something like that. Pinhead v. Superman. Let's see, there's that 54, 5, 6. And there was the 8 right here. Because that one quip from Clive Barker on the Bravo 100 Scariest Movie Moments special, where he talks about how, Pinhead doesn't do a decent, nice thing through 8 films, but still gets letters from women that would like to bear his children. Well, that special was, of course, made, and it aired in Halloween 2004, and both those, the 7th and 8th movies both came out 2005, so I'm guessing they must have both been, produced, and then they were, shelved, and then the Weinsteins just put them out both straight to DVD the same year. Yeah, there was the 2022 remake, and then there was, that one they did in 2011 that Doug Bradley, I think, was the one where he didn't do, and then they did another one in 2018. Then they just finally went and hit the remake button, and now I think there's a video game that either is they have a trailer for it, or it's already out. Seems about right for some chicks, yes. It's an extension of what I was saying earlier about, the type of women that have rape fantasies, or the type of women that are unironically into, romantasy, like Morning Glory Milking Farm. That kind of stuff. Yeah. Ouch. Very ouch. Now, you see. No tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering. Then again, the girl in the first, the main girl in the first couple movies is a cock tease. She's definitely an example of the type of girl who, she may not have rape fantasies, but it's definitely the type of girl that's still not to the extreme of the women that are into shit like 50 Shades of Grey, but still has that self-defeating psychosexual hangups that so many white women have. Like what I was saying earlier, one of the merits of dating Black or Hispanic women is the self-inflicted head games that they put on themselves. No, you got the women that are like, oh god, the guy's so hot, but oh no, I don't want to go in the like, no, I don't want to feel like a slut, or I mean, I can't try to go and give that guy any signals, or he'll think I'm too easy, or no, I mean, all that stuff. Yeah, the main girl for the first couple of Hellraisers is like that, but not to the extreme of rape fantasies, but still, keeps play, and also, a young woman who in her immediate family has people that like to explore the outer regions of pleasure and experience, and then when she plays with a box, is confronted by those who have such sights to show her on the further edges of experience, but it terrifies her, and yet she keeps on observing or interacting with those that fears her. And also it continues to happen as she continues to play with a box. There's some symbolism there that I don't think was intentional, but it is a good metaphor for, even if they're not having rape fantasies, there's still a lot of white girls that, do, put out all the vibes and all the signals, but then won't put out. Just saying. Yeah. No, nothing like her stepmother. Oh yeah, the stepmother who was a complete evil bitch. And like I said, when it comes to Clive Barker's a film director, with the exception of his last film, Lord of Illusions, there's always too many villains or too many plot lines going on at the same time to really focus on one. Like with Hellraiser, if actually that would have been a movie that would have benefited from having none of the Cenobite stuff, and it was something that had you could still have a puzzle box or whatever. But if you didn't have those eye-catching monsters in there that have all this other stuff that makes them so much more memorable and deserving of them being the focus of a movie instead of tertiary characters, where then you could have had the plot line where it's about, the brother she was having the affair with, and, her being an evil bitch stepmother and luring in and killing all these men and all that. But without the Cenobites involved, that would have been a great movie in and of itself. Like how with, Barker's second film, Nightbreed, the whole homicidal psychiatrist who's drugging his patient to frame him for his murders is a story in and of itself that would be a great to sustain a movie. But then there's all the stuff with Midian and all the Midian creatures and all their lore and backstory and all that. It's like Hellraiser, it's a movie at war with its own script. Its script is at war with itself. And Nick's got to go. Have a good night. Oh, yes, everybody wishing Nick a good night on the way out. Hope so. And yes, so did Donnie. And yeah, Forever says, I'll have to give it to the Hellraiser films. They had really cute women in the movies. Yeah, because the first two are available to watch if you for free if you have Prime, which I do. And yeah, the main girl in the first couple, and hell, even the mute blonde with all the puzzles who solves the configuration and gets into hell and all that. Who, I mean, even she was cute. And then, of course, I mentioned the third one, a pre-Deep Space Nine Jadzia Dax as a fiery redhead who spends the third act running around in those tight pants and the tight little sweater. And there's the friend, the girl that introduces her to the Lemay configuration. That's some strung out rock slut or whatever. Who I remember also seeing her on the pilot for the Flash TV show. She was Iris West in the pilot, and then they wrote her off the show after the pilot. Yeah, in the first scene Barry Allen has in the second episode of the Flash show from the 90s, it's him getting a Dear John letter from Iris. Dirty bitch. I'm guessing that that was one of the things they wanted to change in the pilot, but instead of ignoring it, they wanted to actually give it a real resolution quickly to get Iris out of the way so that they could have the will they or won't they relationship with Barry Allen and Mulder's college girlfriend from the X-Files who plays the science wizard that makes him his costume. Yeah, the stepmom was pretty hot yet really evil. I mean, if and this is coming from me, who was into British cougars, so yeah. If you're into that, evil hot bitch kind of look, and then you put the English accent on it, like that actress would have been great for one of those UK soap operas like Coronation Street or EastEnders. Although I think the biggest thing I've known an actress to do since Hellraiser was in the Peter Capaldi years of Doctor Who, they brought her on there as the leader of the Sisterhood of Karn. Yes, that which actually is a callback to they appeared on the show all the way back in the 70s first. So yes, even all the way back in the first 70s, in Doctor Who, there is a female coven that's dedicated to worshiping the guy who played Al on Home Improvement. Yes, the Sisterhood of Karn. And for some reason, they're led by the evil stepmother from Hellraiser. Just a little observation I made right there. Let's see what else we can make out of this tonight. This is another one that looks like it could be some type of strange spaceship or some psychedelic stationery or paperweight. Like this, you can hold it like this, and this could be like a little 2 trays. You could have ketchup and mustard right here, or paper clips and rubber bands. Yeah, that's very nice. And what is blood if not for shedding? Especially if it is for shedding my great-great-granddaughter's blood, Donna D'Erico. Because nothing says the descendant of a giant black man with a hook hand quite like a Playboy playmate who married Nikki Sixx. Yes, Donna D'Erico, the Playboy playmate that she was also on Baywatch and married Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue. Remember her in Candyman 3? She's the great-granddaughter of the love child that the white girl had with Tony Todd that led to him getting his hand cut off and mauled by bees because they lathered him in honey. Okay. He was the son of a free black man who went to prestigious schools and became a painter. And then he wound up having an affair with a rich white girl whose portrait he was supposed to paint. So they punished him by cutting off his painting hand, lathering him with honey, and then sicking a bunch of bees on him who ripped him to shreds. Hence the scene, in the movie where he's, trying to seduce another white woman when he's got Virginia Madsen with him. And then he opens up his pimp coat and his whole torso is a bloody skeleton with nothing but bees, and opens his mouth. And he's got his whole mouth is full of bees and forcibly makes out with her. Come with me and be immortal. Why do you want to live? If you had learned anything from me, you would not want to live. It is a blessed condition, I swear it, to be whispered about in street corners, to be feared by the innocent. Yes, come with me. You belong with me. Burn, burn, burn. Yeah, picture Tony Todd in that one scene in Dirty Work when Norm Macdonald is hallucinating from the brownies. There's Gary Coleman sitting next to him in the car, and it's Tony Todd going, "We eat the pig, and then together we burn." And yes, the fact that the bees are real in the movie, yes, those were real fucking bees that they lathered that guy with, and well, I hope he got compensated well if any of those bees, stuffed into his mouth stun him, or Virginia Madsen as well. Because the whole movie, is more literal. I'd make jokes about Creature from the Black Lagoon being all about a black man just trying to get some white pussy, because you have a flat-nosed, big-lipped creature who's only interested in trying to get a white woman for himself. But with Candyman, it's literally all about a guy who all he is a black guy who just wants a white woman. Let alone, of course, King Kong, where it's about a big, strong African creature living in his own jungle paradise, king of everything. And then he gets taken down by white people who show up on a boat. They take him away from his country to then go and display him and use him for their own ends on this boat. And then he gets gunned down by the authorities just because he wants to get a white woman. Now, I can't be the first one to have made that joke. I mean, come on. Tell me that that's not something Richard Pryor couldn't have done like a 20-minute bit out of in his prime. Please tell me. If there is some stand-up out there who's done a King Kong bit like that, please tell me. Yes, I'm not the first one to do a joke like that with King Kong, although maybe Creature from the Black Lagoon, because then again, remember, yes, he may be big-lipped and flat-nosed and all obsessed with a white woman, but he also can swim. So maybe the gill man's ability to swim does, nullify the black symbology right there. Yeah, there are probably several who've done that. It's just, if Richard Pryor, one of the all-time great stand-ups, had done a bit like that, I probably would have already heard about it at some point. Sorry. All of the Tony Todd talk, it makes it dry. My throat's dry because I'm thirsty. Can't be spitting rhymes with my throat dry. What? Turn my headphones up. I said, bitch, turn them up. Pump up that bass. From the beach, right up top. What? His lyrics are so tight, they don't even have to rhyme. Oh. What? Pump up that bass. What? Why you gotta drop the beat out on me? I said my throat's dry. I'm thirsty. I can't be spitting rhymes. It's on the paper I'm writing. His lyrics are so tight, they don't even have to rhyme. I stab a bitch with a butter knife on the cuffs. Because, it's your king now, Funk Master Flex. And I say here, my new man, Fisticuff, rule the streets. It was said that one night in the ghetto, he got shot in his ear 6 times. I'm saying it on the paper I'm writing. You heard? Oh, that's right. Yeah, Funk Master Flex. Help! Man, Smoke's allowed to open up to me like I was Barbara Walters. He started telling me about his lawyer. He had sex with my mama. Why? His spirituality. Oh, Lord. If less than help. Doctor say I need a backiotomy. I live for this. Get away from me, biatch. Now you know. You know what I live here for. Ow. And also, let's not forget that Sydney Sweeney has great genes. Funny, that is never a Mexican guy going after the white girl. Yes. Although it's not as if, those of if there's those of the Spanish flavor, it's not as if those of the Spanish flavor don't, yearn for sour cream to go with their taco. I'm just saying. It's not as if there aren't, Antonio. It's not as if Antonio Banderas, I think, is still married to Melanie Griffith, One of the whitest women that ever existed. Just saying, just saying. As we attempt to make this again. Yes. Maybe this is the spaceship that a Mexican man will come down to LA in order to get himself a white woman. He'll come in an elaborately designed spaceship like this, doing it in the name of España. Just saying. Just maybe. Just maybe. Careful with that. Yes, yes. And yeah, that Hellraiser video game, let's see if that no, Hellraiser video game. Yeah, there's a 4K gameplay trailer for Hellraiser Revival, it's called. All right, let's see what this is. Yes, although PVFS says they have white Mexicans much spicier. Spicier, spicier. Taco, taco, burrito, burrito, taco. I'll go to south of the border and no like tacos, honey. Make your best wishes with my taco flavor kisses. Taco, taco, burrito, taco, taco. Oh, tacos all up in my tummy, yummy, yummy, give me more. Oh, Ben, you are so perfect. You almost make me forget about tacos. Spicier. Let's hear. Here we go. Knowing, especially after that Hellraiser remake, just be grateful that the first characters we see are, an implied straight white couple. That's a miracle. Or maybe the developers on this, they don't have they didn't get that Sweet Baby Inc. consultation. And yes, as an Hispanic man, forever wants his representation of going after the white girl. Why can't it be an Hispanic man hunting the white pussy? Well, as you saw from the long-standing marriage of Antonio Banderas and Melanie Griffith, it's not as if there aren't Spaniards out there that don't yearn for the white girl. Just saying.
Such delicious torment.
Well, we've got a maze over here that looks nice. Little painting over there. Actually, a couple of mazes. They like mazes as interior decoration. Okay.
It is done. She belongs to the labyrinth now.
Okay, we've got Chatterer there. It at least sounds like Doug Bradley. It's either did they actually get Doug Bradley to do the voice like RoboCop Rogue City, where I think they actually did get Peter Weller to come back to do the voice. Let me see but yeah, they were able to get, that game actually did really well. And but let me confirm this. If Peter Weller was doing the voice. Okay, setting, characters. Yes. So yeah, the RoboCop Rogue City got back Peter Weller, and this does sound, at least it sounds like Doug Bradley to me. Yes. Wouldn't you rather have a Mexican woman go upside your head than a crazy white one? Well, then again, remember, forever, he's used to it. I mean, he's used to, ill-tempered Rosie Perez impersonators, hitting him upside the head or snarling at him in Spanish with rolling all their R's. When a Hispanic woman is angry and speaking Spanish and it sounds like she's changing into a demon voice, like she is summoning Pinhead through through the angry pronunciation of Spanish. Forever, you know what I'm talking about. When they start rolling all the R's or extending out all of the S's, while randomly spitting and emphasizing words at complete random intervals.
But perhaps we can come to an arrangement.
What do you want from me?
Aiden Lynch.
Okay, there's going to be some combat in this. So, you know, hey, that's good to see.
You will give yourself to our purpose. All that you are. Let us begin.
I will have to say, this trailer really is. This I'm a lot more positively waiting for than the Hellraiser remake from 2022. This actually, okay. I mean, not just getting Doug Bradley to go do the voice, but it looks and plays like, you know, considering that there have been comic books out there or whatever, but there haven't been Hellraiser video games at all. Hell, remember, even Halloween got a video game back in the Atari 2600 days, but now you've got the recent revival of 80s or 90s movie franchises as video games actually being pretty well made overall in the recent years between RoboCop Rouge City, as well as there have been games of Puppet Master and Killer Clowns from Outer Space. And there's the Halloween game that's coming up. And this also looks great. Yeah, it looks not half bad. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Forever says, you know, oh, yeah, kind of. Yes. I don't think Pinhead wants any piece of that. Pinhead does not want anything to do with Rosie Perez. You shall take care of your own damn kids. Stop making Mookie do all of your parenting for you, woman. He is not your daycare center. He is not your leering center. It's a little fire. And yeah, if you want an actual like real visual example of what I was saying about when you know, of an Hispanic woman in rage heat, listen to this.
Puerco, cerdo, marrano, cochino.
I think that's Spanish for your suffering will be legendary even in hell. Just saying. Because now we're back to this shape that it was first in. It's funny because it's true. Yes. Take care of your kids, Pinhead. Pinhead, we're going to take care of your kids, all right? Excuse me. Oh, God. Remember, in White Men Can't Jump, even, you know, a stoner like Woody Harrelson was not mellow enough to have to put up with, you know, just that yammering in his ear all day long. No. Don't be stupid. She's big and everything. It's a life lesson, you know. Don't anger women from the Bronx unless you have a gun on you for defense. Trying to get this. I want to return it to its original shape. We must solve it so that then we can destroy the Leviathan and return back to the mental institution with the cute mute girl. Aha. Yes. What's your pleasure, sir? Now we know. So yes, this comes highly recommended, for birthday presents or, for Christmas. It would be an interesting little device. A little something, something. A little something on the end. I think you will find it most appetizing. Will you? Will you? And on that note, I want to thank you all for watching. Subscribe to the channel to reach 10,000 subs. Become a member today and shop at my art store. The first link in the description where you can buy my art or commission me or support me with a donation. Or you can go and order issue 4 of my comic book Encrypted, which just arrived from the printer today. A regular copy is 5, an autographed copy is 10, an autographed and sketched in copy is 20, or you can get a 1-year subscription for 60 or 1-year subscription with your copies autographed for 90. Now, tomorrow I'll have shorts at 5 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 and 6. I'll have a new video at 6:30, and I'll be live again at 10. So until then, felines, slam it, lick it, suck it, and see you, Space Cowboy.